Thank you for joining the program tonight. We're going to get to you in just a moment on all your comments. We love hearing from you. Like you to chirp in. One day we'll have the ability of you to check in, actually, maybe even call the show. But right now, this is what we have. So I'll say good evening to Brian K. Marchman on the pole position tonight. Terry Johnson, Dan Bond, Frank Almeida. Good to see you again, Frank. AJ Rowe. So checking in, line it up as we get ready for the program about to happen right now. So as I said in the tease, we'll have Peek Wilbur, always one of our favorite nights, one of our favorite guests here on the family of the Buddy Martin Show. Happy Mother's Day to her, 2 sets of twins. And also, she has some thoughts. Now, don't get turned off by this. Don't start whining. But she has some points in her podcast, which I don't think she ever aired this, but why she would allow the thought of FSU coming into the SEC. Now, don't judge too quickly. Wait and hear what she says about that. And it's not the reasons you think it might. A lot of talk about alignment. Calm down a little bit today, the last couple of days. The fact is that people are scrambling for position. So we'll talk a little about that, about Allie's thoughts. She's back from her soccer or softball. I'm not sure which. We'll talk to her in just a moment. First, this message on the Buddy Martin Show, and standing by in the orange blue room, Allie Peek Wilbur.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right. Jeff Cardoza, good to hear from you. Right to the orange and blue room. She's probably out of breath. She's just sprinting in the house from softball, baseball, track, golf. I don't know. Her family does all the sports. She's a busy mama, and happy Mother's Day to her. Allie Peek Wilbur. Hello, Allie.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Always good to have you on. Makes my day better when you're on. So good to see you.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so what was the sport tonight?
Tonight was baseball. It was the semifinals for our 8U baseball team. We lost. It was a close game. It was a great game. Super fun. The kids did really, really well. And, on to the next season, I guess.
I'm going to tell you what, you mothers, especially with 2 sets of twins, that's why you make good CEOs. You know time management. Boy, you got to know time management. And these people who got one kid and think, oh, it's so hard. Give me a break. Try for 2 sets of twins. Good job by you and Eric. By the way, baseball-wise, it's a pretty good night because the Rays are leading up on the Mets 2-0. 2 more. See, one more home run. Siri, who's been really hot, hit a homer tonight. I think that gives them 85 or 86 lead the league because they need baseball and on pace to break the record for the most home runs. So we'll see about that. I know you're down there in that area. You know what's going on with the Rays. Keep up with them. So a fun team to watch, to follow.
Such a fun team.
Okay, so we have a whole range of topics to pick from. I went through your stuff, and I picked the one you didn't want to talk about because you did this and never broadcast it. And I thought it was actually a good point that why you say, come on, let FSU in the SEC, right? And I thought first, what's that about? And then I listened to it, and it makes perfect sense to me. So we'll give you a chance tonight to explain that to our people, our friends and neighbors tonight on the show. And by the way, this is such a family show. Everything we do is about family. As an example, my son Brendan, my business partner, the president of the company, he did a last-minute Mother's Day promotion because he wanted to do something special for family. He wrote this letter out to people saying, hey, we can give you this one deal one time on Mother's Day. We want to make it affordable for you. We're a family business. Every subscriber counts to us, but we want to be able to serve you. Biggest promotion we ever had. Most successful by far. So mothers are big here on this program, and family is big, and we're a family-run business. I feel good about that. I like all our Gator Bait friends are family people. And so come on over and talk family. We're going to talk about your family some more tonight. for those who don't know about Allie, she's a quadruple legacy Gator. I'll let you tell them about starting with Scotty, your family.
Yeah, so my grandfather, Scotty Peek, played football at Florida and actually ran track as well. He still has a record because they don't run the event anymore. It's the 220 on the curve. And then after him, my dad, Skipper Peek, played 76 through 79. He was a corner. And then my brother, Scott, he was a freshman on the 2008 team. He graduated in 2012, so played for Meyer and for Muschamp. And then I married Peek Wilbur, who was our punter from 2003 to 2006. So our senior year, we got to go out with a national championship. So we bleed orange and blue in this house.
I'll say, and then some. It wasn't bad. Dad, grandfather, brother, they had to marry one too, for crying out loud. But that's great stuff. Well, that's great. So I know which way you go in the football season. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Gainesville right now. A lot, as a matter of fact. Yeah. There seems to be a way, and you've talked about it on your podcast, by the way, Peek Inside the Gators. I think I've got it right. And so I listen to it all the time. It's on YouTube. I recommend you should also, because not only does she have good information, but she lights up a room. That's what I like about it, Allie. She lights up this show and lights up the room. And so it feels like, looks like, smells like something's going on. It's a little too early to start predicting what that will mean and how it will be translated into victories or whatever. But you get the sense when you hear and read and talk with people who are close to the program, there's I don't want to say momentum, a little bit of an energy base there, I think. Am I right about that? Do you feel that too?
I think so. Recruiting is really trending in a great direction. We've heard some great things out of spring practice about Florida's defense, about Florida's offensive line. I think the team that we currently have is trending in the right direction. I still caution fans to be patient with that. But I really think with recruiting, Napier is getting the pieces that he wants. He's winning head-to-head matchups against programs that have recently won national championships: Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, the LSU. So I think he's getting some momentum there. He's moving in the right direction. I think he's going to finish with a top 5 class for the 2024 season. And I think the on the field product is going to need a year or two to catch up. That's what happens when you replace basically a former coach's players, which is what's happening. There's turnover going on. But I think the puzzle pieces are coming to Gainesville.
And, I'm a little tired. I mean, it's my school too. And I'm a little tired of people speaking about the Gators as if they're a doormat of the SEC. Right. And I get why. This is the business that we're in. But offhanded comments, like my friend Paul Feinbaum, when someone called him, just kind of an innocent guy, called out of the blue from somewhere up in like Mississippi or something. And he said, he obviously wasn't an experienced caller, and says, I want you to tell me about my team. Who's your team? The Florida Gators. This is what do you want to know about it? Well, I mean, what kind of team they're going to have and do better. He wanted some kind of reassurances. And at the end, Paul said, well, thank you for calling. I wish you'd have picked a better team. I mean, come on. I mean, really. I mean, I get it. All programs go through cycles. Sure. As Coach Spurrier said here 3 months ago on the Feinbaum show, right now we're learning about humility at Gainesville, and that's true. You have to take the bitter herbs and hope for a better day. But I think in that so-called transition, you want someone who's not just a placeholder, but someone who also can re-energize and reorganize your program. And I could be wrong, because I always get scared when I say things like this, because I bought in on Dan Mullen too early. I thought he was the guy. And I said, but I think Billy Napier is that man. It's always a horse race. It's an arms race.
Sure.
With the fans, where the fans are going to tolerate another 6-win season or whatever. I think they might do a little better than that, but I'm not sure yet. So here we are sitting in sort of limbo. And I know you get this a lot. You've had guests on your show. Graham Hall the other day talked about going up against the quarterbacks in the SEC, how much tougher it is. So you talk to a bunch of people. What's the drift of what you get? And let's just don't pump sunshine. Let's talk about what it really is. But talking to the fan base, they're hopeful and a little bit more, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, first of all, I think it's important to remind people Florida's 2 seasons out of 3 New Year's 6 bowl games in a row. So it's not like the sky has been falling in Gainesville for, so long. Okay. I don't think this team is as bad as some of the national pundits think that they are. I think that Florida has a very solid chance to get at least 7 wins. I think they have a reasonably good chance to get 8 wins. I think if Florida were to get more than 8 wins, that would be overachieving on this season. I think it would show that Napier's maybe a little bit more ahead of schedule. And, I'm in the minority when it comes to Dan Mullen. I kind of picture that as punting on 3rd down, right? But sometimes that really pays off for you as the punter's wife,
Yeah, punter's wife, yeah.
I hate punting on 3rd down, right? So I think that Napier is a lot more organized, much more of a CEO than Dan Mullen is. I think he's slightly less of a play caller than Dan Mullen is. So fans have to understand that they were taking a trade-off, right? And the trade-off is we have someone who I think is the right guy to reorganize the program. I think to take this next step that UF needs to take with the whole new world that college football is right now, with NIL, with the transfer portal, you need a very strong CEO. And I do think that Napier is that. But I think fans need to be patient. And that's something that, Gator fans are not good at. It's 2.5 years and everybody's getting, a little bit edgy, a little bit jumpy. I would caution people to give him time. Let's see him work. I think that we're going to see an improvement this season, but I really think the entire thing is trending upwards. So, I think it's going to be okay.
The problem is others are doing it better.
Sure.
And you see, obviously, Georgia's in another stratosphere up here. But even LSU, they got Zalt right away. And you look at programs like TCU, came out of nowhere, using the portal, using NIL, using whatever they got. And people are saying, well, why can't we have that? And I understand how you feel. And it's a legitimate question. And I don't know the answer except to say some things take longer. If I felt the program was going the wrong way, that'd be one thing. Sure. But sometimes it takes longer.
Well, I think it depends on the program you're talking about. TCU, I think they could be a flash in the pan. We'll see if that's actually sustainable. We don't know that it is. With LSU, you're talking about a program that had top 5 recruiting classes for the last several years. So their puzzle pieces were better than Florida's puzzle pieces. A lot of people think Dan Mullen was fired mainly for his recruiting. He's got that famous comment about it's not recruiting season. So if we think that that's the reason he's no longer the head coach at the University of Florida, then it should be easy to see why a program like LSU was able to rebound so quickly. They had been recruiting, stacking classes for years prior to making a coaching switch, and Florida just wasn't. Florida was doing okay on the recruiting trail. But if Florida ends up with a top 5 class this year, if they end up with a top 5 class next year, those are the building blocks to sustainability. Those are the building blocks to being LSU, to bouncing back off of one bad season, to moving in the direction of Georgia or Alabama. So it is patience because we are different. Florida wasn't built the same as some of these teams that are having immediate success.
Well said, but it still stings stories like this today. Keon Coleman, who's the number 2 best available player in the transfer portal according to Athletic, today committed to Florida State. And he was a highly regarded leading receiver at Michigan State. Well, they've had a bailout in East Lansing, I'll tell you what. He caught 58 balls, what have you. So it seems like when the really, really good-looking candidates are available, although Florida has built somewhat in the portal, and certainly from the Louisiana players last year, that Mullen hasn't gotten them. That's the perception. I'm sure there are reasons, and I think he had a good one when he said, look, there's a lot of diligence done on players that you cannot make a mistake on a kid investing too much time only to find out he could not qualify academically 3 months later, or he was an injury he was not over, or whatever, the medical checkup. So there are those reasons. But I think the perception is that just a beat behind others in the transfer portal. Now, that could still change, but we waited, and then Franz wrote this morning, Billy talked about going after another quarterback, and he hasn't gotten him, so that means he's committed. And he did say out last week, my quarterback has started 32 games. Who else has? I think Franz had that stat. I think only 6 quarterbacks have. So from that standpoint, well, I mean, it's like saying, I'll play these in a poker game, you know?
Well, first of all, on the quarterback topic, I don't think there's anybody in the portal who is better than Graham Mertz. And not only did they need to be better, but he needed to be significantly better, because you're talking about bringing a guy in basically just for fall camp. He wouldn't have had the benefit of spring. You're going to have to be a rare talent to be able to come in, just do camp, and then start. I don't think that's in the portal.
Yeah.
So I think that's the answer there. But Billy told us when we hired him that he was going to be very patient with the portal and take a patient approach. He told us what his game plan was. So I think it's interesting that people are shocked by the fact that he's doing exactly what he told us he was going to do. But on top of the things that you mentioned about injuries or qualifying academically, is he a culture fit? Does he fit into the scheme? When you take somebody in the transfer portal, it's not for later. You're taking somebody in the transfer portal because you need them to make an immediate impact on your roster right now. And so I don't maybe disagree really with the way that he's doing things, because if you're not sure on those issues, when you have so few scholarships available, I don't know that it's worth the risk.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you. I'm just saying the perception of what it is. And
fans want what they want, and they want it now, and they want to win every battle, whether that's recruiting, whether it's the transfer portal, or on the field.
The bright, shiny things is always the things you got to defend. So it's all right. Now, I want to get to you this point. I don't want to get you in hot water with Gator fans. You could never get in hot water with Gator fans. They love you too much. But you made this comment, why FSU should be allowed to come to the SEC. But it's like a sucker punch. Why don't you explain that?
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to preface all of this by saying I would love for FSU to just rot away in mediocrity of the ACC for eternity. I just don't know that that's really reality for what we're looking at right now. They have combined, the Magnificent Seven, as they're being labeled right now, 7 programs from the ACC. They need that 8th. We've been hearing rumblings that Louisville will be that 8th. And then once that happens, they can break their contract from the ACC and go elsewhere. And it looks like that will happen. So let's say that does happen. You can look at landing spots for Florida State. More than likely, it would be the SEC or the Big Ten. Unless the Big 12 wants them, which I can't imagine them exploding the ACC to just head to the Big 12 with UCF. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So unless
ACC's better.
Right, exactly. So it doesn't make sense that they would implode their conference to go to a weaker one. So unless there's some new super conference that's going to be formed that we don't know about, the options are the SEC and the Big 10. Right now, the Big 10 they have a bigger TV contract than the SEC does. Now, will that change? Potentially. But that means FSU is going to get a very large chunk of a TV contract, more than what Florida would currently be getting with the SEC. It also means the Big 10 would then expand their footprint into the state of Florida, which means they're going to get to see Big 10 teams 7 games out of the year in Tallahassee. That will affect recruiting in the state of Florida. Not only players going to Florida State even more, but players leaving the state to go to those other Big 10 schools. And if Florida State came to the SEC, they'd be mediocre. Maybe. I feel like they would come in as a pretty low tier. They're used to playing a cakewalk schedule. They can't handle playing teams like Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU on a regular basis on top of playing Florida and Miami. It's going to be so long before they are relevant on the national stage if they make the jump to the SEC. And we already compete head to head against recruits for them. So I'm not concerned about them joining our conference from that standpoint. So, I mean, and if you go to a 10-game or more conference championship game, conference schedule, you lose the opportunity to play Florida State more than likely if they aren't in your conference. So that's a rivalry I would like to hang on to personally.
All right. Well said. By the way, while we're doing that, the Tampa Bay Rays hit another home run. A guy who's been in a big-time slump. Brandon Lau, who hadn't mailed a hit out of a paper bag, hit a 2-run homer. They're up 4-2 on the Mets. So just to update you. Back to your point, though. I mean, This is the thing about the FSU Florida rivalry. People have a short memory. It has been a great rivalry. There was a time when Spurrier and Bowden were there, it was being called the best rivalry in the country at that time because they are always in the top 5, top 10. There was always a top 10 every year. They played for national championships, what have you. So it's too good of a rivalry not to preserve it in some way. I just personally don't see the FSU being allowed in the SEC, but crazier things have happened. I don't know. There's a lot going on here right now.
They've had to be told that they would be let in somewhere. I can see the Big Ten saying they don't want FSU academically. I could see the SEC saying, hey, I don't know what the benefit is for us because we already have a footprint in the state of Florida. But somebody has told them something because there's no way they'd be willing to implode their conference if they didn't have a better landing spot.
Yeah, but it's $500 million they got to pay back.
Yeah. Well, so you know that they've got to be really happy with what this potential landing spot is.
They got a bad deal on there in that situation. Yeah. Last I heard, they decided to play it out. What the heck? We'll see how that is. Yeah. Don't forget, people forget about another thing. There's a Big 12 team playing in Florida right now, as this season. And it's Orlando, UCF now. They're going to have some big games. They're going to also recruit stronger. So the Big 12 is already here and is further around. Yeah, so we'll see how that all works. All right, on an up note for the Gators, baseball team had a really tremendous sweep, one of the best series in really a long time that they've ever had. Beating Vandy 3 games, now improved to a number 3 national seed in latest D1 Baseball America, and so on. So now they got to go tomorrow night to Kentucky. They got 3 games there, and then they go to Hoover.
Yep.
And from there, most likely, if they keep playing like they're playing and getting a great play out of some of the young players like Curlin, one of the co-players of the week in SEC, record number of home runs for a second baseman. Caglione now has got his fastball up to really and is pitching well. Went 6 2/3 innings, and of course BT Ripel and the rest of them are hitting, tearing the cover off the ball. So things are trending upward just at the right time. Yes. And you know what? It's about the timing, because I remember this in basketball when Billy Donovan told us you just have to get hot in the spring and win 6 games. So the baseball team could own the spring if things continue on this plateau right now and they keep playing like the kind of baseball they've been playing.
Oh, yeah. This is a good team. And Omaha is just one of the most fun events in college athletics.
I've never been. You've been there, huh?
Oh, I haven't been. I'm just talking about watching. It's on my bucket list. Omaha is on my bucket list. But, this team is built to win a championship. So we'll see.
All right. So Mary Helen McCollum says you've changed her thoughts on what you said.
Listen, I don't love it, right? I would, like I said, I'd rather FSU just rot away. But if
I got you. Yeah.
Terrible choices.
Yeah, for sure. So Mary Helen's one of our more astute listeners and followers. And she said also, I feel that Dan had quit on this past year. And I feel like last year our team wasn't giving 100%. Fair approval, fair comments. I think they probably gave 100%, but they just didn't. It was an odd year to have a number 1 pick in the draft, the number 4 guy overall, and not be able to produce any kind of championship out of it. But
they quit last year, but I do think that they did the year before. I think that Florida had fight in them last season, even games that they lost, and some of them inexplicably, right? Like there were some that were just a play or 2 away, a mistake or 2 away. But I don't feel like this team ever quit last season, and I think that's Napier, because a lot of those same players did quit the season before, or at least appear that way, right?
I think Dan Mullen quit on his team once he saw he couldn't beat Alabama. He saw the road ahead. That whole attitude changed, and he got that show calls. People forget he had trouble recruiting. And that all happened so fast, and boy, they just reversed everything all of a sudden. So a lot of praise from AJ Rowe, Dan Bond, all the people loving what you're doing. tell them about your podcast, what you're doing, what some of the topics you'll tackle here the next couple of weeks, and how those kiddies doing.
Well, the kiddos are doing great. We've got gymnastics state championships this weekend and baseball closing ceremonies, and then it's summer, so we get to relax a little bit. But a peek inside the Gators, we've got a couple more interviews with Graham Hall that are coming out. We did a really long interview and kind of broke it down. We talked about quarterbacks. We talked about, the season outlook as a whole. We talked a little bit about the transfer portal and what Florida could do. So there's a lot of good content coming out there. Hopefully we're going to maybe have some news about a transfer portal commitment or two sometime in the next little bit here. So we'll obviously keep that updated as well. But, it's the off season. So there's all different interesting things. I really want to dive into kind of the weight program and what UF does and why it's different than in previous years and things like that. I would love to give kind of a behind the scenes peek of all the inner workings of the program and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that support this massive undertaking that happens every day at the football facility.
Yeah, it reminds me of my doctor yesterday up in Gainesville. I had to go have a procedure, and there's a guy who's from Iowa. We were talking while I was on the table getting a procedure, and he said, asked me what I did, and I told him, he said, I've always thought I would love to do something like that, do a podcast. I said, do it. Do it. He said, I don't know how to do it. I said, just do it like everybody else. I said, what would you like to do it on? He said, I don't know, the people I meet here at University of Florida that make up this school. I said, great.
He'd probably have some really interesting stories.
The guy I don't care what they do, any role, any part, they may be a gardener or they may be a dean, they may be a truck driver, whatever. So it's stepping outside the box like you have, and you're doing so well. I'm proud of you. By the way, we've nicknamed this June push, I guess the June, what do we call it? The June Bloom, right? Is that what we called it about it?
Yeah, June Bloom.
Yeah. And so coming up next, Matt Quartararo is going to talk about the welcoming the remainder, the last four members of the 2023 class going to be here. And there's some talent there with Eugene Wilson, Dijon Johnson, Gavin Hill, and Caden Jones all arriving in Gainesville. So they're all going to be together there and be getting ready to work out. And the 2024 class team looks like it could have some promise to us. So, Allie, thank you so much for doing this. All our best to Eric and the family. Hopefully we'll see you again next Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Great. Allie Peek Wilbur, she's the host of the show, A Peek Inside the Gators, and she runs the household. Believe you me, she runs the household. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Allie Peek Wilbur, we're going to move quickly over to the Orange and Blue Room and see Matt. Check you in real quick. Matt, what's going on, buddy? Matt Quartararo from Gator Bait.
How are you?
I'm good. Turn your audio on. I think you're on now, right?
Oh.
Yeah. We're not getting any. We're not hearing you. Yeah, Matt does a good job for us. He's got a piece out in all.
Can you hear me there?
That's better, yeah. Gators set to welcome the remainder of 2023 class. And before we have David Moulton on here in a minute, I wanted to get Matt on to discuss. He's written some really good things. I'm going to say right now, Matt's an up-and-coming media person. I'm extremely proud of his work and what he's done, his writing and all this other stuff. We hadn't even seen his talents as a broadcaster yet. We're going to get him on more this summer and get a chance to hear more of that. He wants to be one day a play-by-play man, probably for the Mets or Yankees or the Jets or Giants. I don't know exactly which one, but true, Matt?
It's definitely up there, and definitely not for the Mets. The Yankees would be the dream.
There you go. Watching the Mets in the race right now, and home run by Brandon Lau, who's been in a slump big time. And he two-run homer, they're up 4-2. Can't help you on the Yankees there. Sorry about that. We don't like them because I'm a Rays fan.
That's anyway, all right.
All right, so tell me about this story. These four players reporting, mentioned them earlier, Eugene Wilson, Dijon Johnson, Gavin Hill, and Caden Jones. The final members of the class to arrive in Gainesville. And he says a lot of excitement in the program. Tell me about the talents of these four.
So they're the last four to show up from the class. The majority was there this spring. I think that the player to be most excited about is Eugene Wilson. As I touched on in that article, obviously a very talented wide receiver core has already come in with Aiden Mizell and Andy Jean, but Wilson may be the best of the three of them. So we'll have to see. That should be really exciting to see. He's very, very fast, great route runner, so he'll be a good slot guy. And then Gavin Hill, I'm also very excited to see. He went to Buchholz, just right down the street from the University of Florida, so that'll be exciting to see. That was really a focus of Billy Napier and the rest of his staff to kind of recruit the local high schools. And obviously that's about as local as you can get, so it'll be nice to see him wearing the orange and blue.
I've seen some video on Eugene Wilson. Not that makes me an expert. But, boy, the speed and quickness of that guy, and apparently he catches the ball really well. What can he get? I mean, he'll get some advantage out of playing for Billy Gonzalez. And you wonder if he's one of the reasons, or they're one of the reasons that Xavier Henderson decided, I'm going to take my talents down the road to Cincinnati or wherever he winds up going.
Definitely. I mean, Henderson, one of the two guys coming back this year that really had any sort of meaningful production last season. But like I just said, there's a lot of good talent that's coming in. So I don't necessarily know if Henderson was going to see a boost in his action like he necessarily would have wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know you're not on campus right now. I'll be back next fall. But and you buzz around a lot in the worlds of recruiting, and you read and you talk to people. And I'm not trying to get you to blow a kiss to the Gators on their recruiting, but how do you feel about the latest seemingly, I won't say trend, but let's just say a little energy going there about this? We have a huge list of people coming in to visit next month in Gainesville that looks like it's giving them some kind of buzz.
Oh, it definitely has. And you're right. I'm not on campus right now, but you could still just tell just from, reading some articles and cruising around social media a little bit, there is an excitement growing, not just from the 2023 class that's already on campus, but now this group of the 2024 and 2025 athletes that are coming to visit. And I touched on a couple weeks ago, there are a lot of good 2024 athletes that are going to be making their way to Gainesville in the next couple of weeks. And DJ Lagway is kind of leading that movement.
Yeah, he's a recruiter.
Right. And so it's definitely an exciting moment, an exciting time for the Gators, especially there are a couple players that are coming that are already committed. And if they're able to make a little bit of momentum towards flipping one or two of them, that would also be very, very good.
The receiver from Ohio State says he likes Florida, but he's not going to not going to turn down the Buckeyes, right? Even though he's committed, he's going there, going to take a visit.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Going around seeing, you never really know. But you also just get the opportunity to kind of tour around a couple different facilities and meet a couple different coaches and a couple different guys that, who knows, you may end up playing with in the future.
Matt Quadraro, he writes great stuff for us. You can hear him on the show once in a while. Got to get him back more often. I think you're up in New York, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right upstate, they're playing a little tournament called the PGA up in Oak Hill in Rochester. So they're going to have a freeze warning tomorrow up there too as well. So
yeah, it's going to be cold.
Stay warm, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Talk to you again next week, okay?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. David Moulton in the Orange and Blue Room after this.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
All right, thanks very much, Jeffrey. And right to the Orange and Blue Room. Let's see the Grinch who stole the football season. No, he's not. He's turned good guy now. What's up, David?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good. Is that a Boston University shirt?
It's a Baylor University.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's wrong colors. Yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm good. What's up?
Just, typical May stuff, recruiting. I'm going to watch the PGA tomorrow. I know you are probably too. Baseball team in Florida gotten a boost after the sweep of Bandy, and right now the Rays are leading over the Mets 4-2, as you know. And lo and behold, who hit the home run? The slumping Brendan Lau finally hit one.
That's when you know you're going well, when
Yeah.
a guy who's right around the Mendoza line is coming up with the big 2-run homer in the 8th to give you the lead.
To his credit, Kevin Cash put him in the 4-hole tonight.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know about to his credit because he's kept him in either the 4 or the 5 hole when he's been hitting 170 and 180. Tonight it came through, but he's been a bit of a rally killer. You watch a lot of
Yeah, I didn't like it.
baseball.
I didn't like the move. I'd say
For the last 2 weeks, we've all been pounding the table going, come on, man. You got the wrong Lau batting.
Exactly
you
my
got one guy batting
thought.
8th and one guy
Flip
batting
flop
4th.
him. Put him down at 8, and put
Totally.
you're right. Exactly, David. You're 100% right. Exactly my thoughts as well. So, but what do we know? We're just a couple of schlumps trying to do talk radio. We don't know anything.
He's probably manager of the year,
Yeah. So, the question is, can you pronounce the name of the number one pick in the lottery?
Wembanyama.
Good job. Sounds like a combination of a tribe and the former president of the United States or something, So,
Well, and some people are trying to shorten it and call him Wemby. I don't think that's going to stick. Okay.
yes. I must say, we don't talk much about the NBA except when we're on with someone who's got international fame like you. But I got a chance to watch the whole game. I'll say whole game, most of the game last night. And as you know, I'm a Denver guy. I spent 8 years there covering that team, and I got my first chance to look at the Nuggets. And I'm telling you, man, they held on in some serious moments. Looked like it was serious, down to 3 at the end, 5, and I must say LeBron played his heart out. But man, that's impressive. They're impressive.
Yeah, they're fun, and they've been together a while now, and this may be their year. And they had the best record in the West, and they've yet to lose at home. And since they're going to have home court going all the way to the finals, if they don't lose at home, they don't have to do much more to win the NBA title.
I agree. What stands out to you about that team, besides the obvious?
Well, yeah, Jokic is remarkable. I mean, he's one of the 10 greatest centers, ever, and they've got 2 other really good players around him. I mean, they have their own version of the big 3. When you think that both Anthony Davis and LeBron played really well last night, and they combined for, I think it was 76 points.
Yeah.
Well, Jokic and Murray combined for 75.
And Caldwell Pope wasn't bad, by the way, on the 3.
Right.
Boy, he knocked it down.
So, there aren't many combos that can go head-to-head with AD and LeBron and have it be a stalemate, and Denver was able to do it. And, here's the one problem for the Lakers, and I know we don't want to spend a ton of time on this. Denver can shoot the 3, and the Lakers can't. The Lakers are playing basketball the way we all grew up. The Lakers shoot 2s. The Lakers don't have a great 3-point game. So they're going to have to get to the free throw line. They're going to have to make up the differential that they're going to lose because Denver's going to hit 10 threes a game. So.
Jokic is one of the great basketball players I've seen, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, I don't say necessarily he's Jordan, and whatever. I was saying what he can do. He made a shot last night. I mean, it was a miraculous shot. The one, I guess it was Anthony Davis was guarding him. He was way out, and he had running out down the clock, and he had to throw the ball, kind of like a half-court eve and a shot, and had to kind of throw it at an angle and just nailed it all net. And even Anthony Davis walked off the court shaking his head like that.
Yep.
How can you stop that, right?
The one basketball thing I thought you were going to bring up is that they had the first pre-draft workout last week, and the Gator Castleton looked really good.
I didn't hear that. I'm glad you brought it up.
I saw 2 days worth of reports in which the first 2 days, I think it was a 3-day thing, and that he was one of the top 5 players of both the first 2 days of it. That they thought he looked really good and was definitely playing his way into the first round, if not the middle of the first round.
That's great stuff. I had not heard that, David, and I'm really happy for him because a guy deserves a break, man. That's for sure. It's too bad he couldn't have had the opportunity to finish up, and they probably would have been in the tournament. But good to know. I wish him all the best. Let's talk a little bit about the SEC schedule.
Okay.
The Gators, over, under, and all that before we get into our golf dialogue. Because I build this show as saying we're going to make them some money on our picks in the PGA.
Cam Young
Okay.
That's my pick. You're
Right.
getting like 28 to 32 to 1.
Not Cam Smith, Cam Young.
Not Cam Smith. Cam Young. The PGA is known for guys getting their first major. In Cam Young's case, it would actually be his first win.
I like that.
He's finished second like 7 times. He's from that part of the country. He can handle the weather because it's going to be like 34 degrees on the first tee tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Freeze
warnings.
Rain, and it's going to rain a good chunk of Saturday. But anyway, so that's my if maybe it's real easy to go Rahm, Scheffler, what have you, but if you want a chance to maybe win a shekel or two,
there you go.
Cam Young at 32 to 1.
Very good. I have to remember that. I'll be watching. And by the way, I'm not going Scheffler. I have picked him a lot. I'm not going to pick Scheffler. It's just a gut thing. And my kind of outsider is Tom Kim.
Okay.
He's been playing really well. He's got a fantastic short game. I mean, his short game is amazing. So, and people have forgotten about Jordan Spieth because he hasn't been playing well. But he's really good up and down out of the bunkers and all that kind of stuff.
I'll say this, though. The rough at Oak Hill, it's been it's not U.S. Open rough, but they say it's as thick or maybe a little thicker than Memorial rough, Jack's tournament in early June.
Yeah.
And because of that, Spieth doesn't hit a lot of fairways. And I don't know if this is a tournament that he can win playing out of the rough as often as he does.
I just got a gut feeling on him. I see him come out above the bunkers. There are a bunch of bunkers there, too. And his bunker plays.
He'd become the 6th golfer to win the career Grand Slam if he can win the PGA.
Exactly. And then I like Justin Thomas defending. He had his A game every time, but he shot 74 at Tulsa, didn't he? And still won.
Did you hear the stat that the last 7 major champions have all been in their 20s? And the last Phil winning the PGA 2 years ago is the last golfer 30 or older to win a major when he won. And this is the longest consecutive streak of golfers in their 20s winning majors since 1921 to 1923. It's been 100 years since this has happened.
Wow. So don't bet on anybody over 30.
So Cam Young's 26.
Well,
just saying.
I can't not acknowledge John Rahm. He's playing the most phenomenal golf this year. I don't ever count him out. So he'd be in my group, my perfecta bet too as well. So, all right. So let's talk about this chart. Again, it's way too early to story about it. Right. This might be on 3s. I mean, they're power rankings.
I like it.
And then there's Florida at 12.
By the way, good job by you to position that right in between our 2 big melons. Good job.
I'll put it more on my side.
No, it's perfect.
But anyway, it's a little bit, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with LSU there. A lot of people do. I'm not conceding they're going to pick up right where they left off, although they got terrific athletes, and obviously they got a good coach. I just don't see Nick falling. I think he's up there at number 2, punching away. And although he was out of the country this week, and when Georgia got the 5-star quarterback, and they're all blaming it, well, you can't go to Italy. Give the guy a life, will you, for crying out loud? What do you see up there?
Well, a couple of things interest me. Only one of the top 5 and 2 of the top 8, I believe, have returning quarterbacks. I mean, LSU and Arkansas.
Right.
Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss. And I'm trying to think if the guy at A&M is returning. They went through so many quarterbacks last year. Kentucky, obviously, with a new quarterback. So that's the
South Carolina, right?
But I said one of the first 5 and 2 of the first 8.
Okay.
And so if you look at that, and I mean, really, how many returning quarterbacks do we have in the SEC this year? I mean, you go all the way to, Mississippi State, Auburn, Florida even. I mean, so that to me is interesting. Will LSU, Arkansas, and or South Carolina have an edge because they return quarterbacks, and they return decent quarterbacks too? Thank you very much. So, I'm wondering, particularly, I'm not as high on the Arkansas quarterback as a lot of people. I think he's a runner.
I'm not either,
thrower.
And they're too high.
Okay, but the LSU, they've got 2 quarterbacks who I think can play. And the kid at South Carolina we saw last year could play. I mean, he beat Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back. So those teams interest me because, they've got the key position on the field. where they have an edge, at least to start the year. Yeah. But, I mean, LSU's got to open with Florida State. I mean, that is a monster
that's a huge game
because it begs the question. We've never had a team make the 4-team playoff that's had a 2 in the right-hand column.
Wow, that's right.
So, so what if LSU were to, lose to Florida State like they did last year by a point, and then with their schedule, even if they go to Alabama and they lose, yet somehow they get to the SEC championship game and they win it, but they're a 2-loss champion. Would they go? Would they make it? I would like to think they would with the schedule that they played, but that's why, for one more year anyway, buddy, to play the unbelievably difficult non-conference game. I mean, we've yet to see the committee put a 2-loss team in the 14 playoff.
Yeah.
Well, LSU and Florida State are playing right away. Ohio State's playing at Notre Dame, Texas and Alabama. I mean, these are pretty damn risky games unless the committee in their 4-team swan song is going to change the rules.
Well, they do have 12 spots this year, and LSU did win it with 2 losses, but that's the BCS day, right? They did that. 2 losses.
Right, but I'm just saying, you're right. Yeah. That was BCS. That was the computer spitting them in, the game. And but since we voted, we went to 4 teams, beginning in 2014, we've yet to have a 2-loss team make it.
Yeah, good point. So looking at the schedule, Georgia's where they belong. LSU might be 1 slot higher. I'd move Alabama up. I might move Tennessee down, and I might put Ole Miss up and move Arkansas down. I moved Texas A&M up a couple of spots. They can't be this bad anymore. They can't be. I think they have Kentucky too high. I don't care what you say. I think they have South Carolina too high. I'm not so sure Mississippi State's not too high. Auburn should go higher. Auburn's going to have a decent Florida should go somewhat higher. Missouri's about where they belong in Vanderbilt. Right now, way too early projections. That's how I feel about that. So whatever that's worth. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, if you go back, if you could just post it for a second.
Sure.
I talked about, do LSU and South Carolina maybe have an advantage at the start of the year because they've got returning quarterbacks and everybody else is breaking in a quarterback. Now, just look for Alabama. If you go with this ranking, they host number 2, they host number 4, they host number 5, they host number 6.
Wow.
So, they don't play number 1. They got to play 7 and 10 and 11 on the road. Okay. But I'm just saying that basically the left-hand column, Alabama basically hosts the left-hand column. So is that going to get Alabama through this year? They host LSU, they host Tennessee, they host Ole Miss, they host Arkansas, and they host Texas. I mean, so, their biggest 5 games outside of Auburn, okay, but in terms of, you could argue the toughest 5 teams maybe they're going to play on their schedule, they get them all at Bryant-Denny.
Done some homework on your schedule already, David. It's only May, for crying out loud. Holy mackerel.
Come on now. If anybody's going to put me on the spot in May, I know.
No, you got your stuff. You got your A game going already. I'm not up to that level just yet. It's going to take me a minute to figure it out. But it's interesting, although it's way too early. We know that. That's okay. But somebody's got to do this. And the team that's a conundrum to me is Tennessee. They might be better, but somehow I got a gut they're not going to be as good because the quarterback play they got with Hooker was unbelievable. That guy was so underrated, in my opinion. I thought he was remarkable. But, maybe Hype will have this other kid they got who throws the ball 1,000,000 miles might be the answer. And we just don't know what's up. But anyway, it'll be interesting. Anything else, David, before I take it down?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. I want to get your thoughts on.
By the way, 5-2 Rays going to the bottom of the 9th.
Oh, good. That's good. Come on, Rays. Got to win this one. Here's the information. This came up about Merce. And I really thought Billy did a smart thing by coming up and saying, hey, I'm not quoting exactly. My guy started 32 games last year, instilling some confidence in. People say, well, you can't do this, can't do that. And France Beard looked it up and did some research on this. And you know how many quarterbacks in the country have as many or more starts than the one at Florida in Mertz? How many do you think?
I'll bet you can count them on one hand.
Well, you can't quite, but you almost can because there's 6 other Division I quarterbacks in Mertz. Bo Nix, remember him? Sam Hartman, now at Notre Dame. Jaden Daniels at 44 stars. Spencer Sanders, I forgot completely about it. Ole Miss. Dylan Gabriel and Keaton Slowitz. Now, 37. So those are and Slowitz of BYU. So those are your quarterbacks who started more. And so, I mean, the guy, I don't know how good of a player he is yet. I haven't seen him on the hoop that many times. I don't think of Wisconsin. I think of great throwing quarterbacks. But something they're doing, something that he's done has impressed Billy a lot because he's going to be his quarterback.
Well, he's going to be his quarterback by default. I mean, come on. Buddy.
Well, he didn't go out and get it. He could have got another quarterback in the portal.
He tried. He tried hard,
but he didn't get the ones.
Come on. He tried hard. I mean, this is the fallback. This is like a political party, and this is the fallback candidate. I mean, let's be honest. Doesn't mean he's not a solid candidate. Doesn't mean we can't win putting this candidate forward. But we wanted to put this person, and this person. And, okay, we're going to put this guy. He's solid. We think we can win with him.
Yeah, I guess Tesson Bennett wasn't available.
Well, he hasn't graduated yet. But
it took 6 years.
But I mean, there were a few guys. I mean, come on. When the LSU guy transferred and they didn't get, they wanted him. Okay, Billy had a connection with him.
I'm not saying he didn't want him, but he could have settled for others. Anyway, I'm not going to debate that with you. I don't really know. I don't have that information, but it appears like he made a pass at a couple and couldn't get them. Just that's the way it is. Right. But I mean, the point is, he doesn't seem upset about it. So, good luck to him. So,
anyway. Come on, what's he going to say?
David, you got a nice new Baylor shirt. What you need now is a jacket. Okay, I got just the deal. Yeah, I got just the deal for you. This is just made available. It's for you. You got to get online and find out. You can buy Michael Jordan's 1992 Dream Team gold medal ceremony jacket.
Right.
It's available for you right now at Sotheby's for just a cool $750,000, and they think it'll fetch up to $3 million. So that's what it's priced is.
That looked great on the wall right there.
Yeah, I'd sleep in that sucker if it were me. If I paid that much for it, what the heck? So, all right, can you say Victor Wembanyama?
Wembanyama. Nope. Do it again. Wembanyama.
Yes.
Wembanyama.
Now, I'm a little late to that. It came under the radar. Didn't come in for me. I didn't really know much about this French basketball player, which is so great. That I played for the Metropolitans '92. Now he's going to be the first pick. What do you know about him? What do you think?
He's a bigger, more athletic Kevin Durant, quite frankly, is what they're saying, because he's 7'3", 7'4", and he's a terrific shooter from the outside, and he can handle the basketball, the likes of which we've never seen from someone that big. And Durant's 6'11", 7 feet, and, great shooter and the whole deal. So he's being billed as a bigger, more skilled Kevin Durant. And if that's the case, that's one of the 20 greatest players of all time.
Well, yeah. So we'll see about that. We'll learn about it. I'm just catching up with Jokic and some of the others. I couldn't realize this. How long do you think Jokic has played for the Nuggets?
Oh, he's played a while. Hasn't he played like 8 years?
Yeah, because our son corrected me today. I said, well, he's only been there 3 or 4 years. He said, Dad, I did a highlights package on when I was in Denver, and that's been 5 or 6 years ago. Or 7 years ago. I said, what? No. I think he said 2015 he did a highlights package on it. So that would be, 8 years, whatever. I'm surprised. He's just a phenomenal player.
Well, he had won the last 2 MVPs, and he finished, I think, 3rd this year. So
better year.
It's incredible.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you go out on this, David. I got one for you. I saw this. What did I see? It's online. What current showbiz star would make the best college football coach? Can't use Ted Lasso because I used him.
Current show. Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. All right. Yeah, okay. Good choice.
He's from Texas. He loves his college football. So
he does.
I go with McConaughey. Plus, he starred in that We Are Marshall movie.
That's right.
So
he did, didn't
he? Was
he?
the
Yeah.
college football coach.
Yeah. Well, there you go. David Moulton on his stuff tonight, man. He's all
Well,
over
either
it.
that or Denzel, right? I mean, you would go
Denzel would be
McConaughey
good.
or,
Yeah, Denzel would be good. Yeah.
So,
I was thinking more of like a TV star, but yeah, you're right. You absolutely nailed everything tonight, including breaking down the SEC schedules. David is on his September mode already, and it's not even June yet, for crying out loud, Moulton. My word.
can't believe I made you happy for a week. I'm sure that'll change next week.
Always great to be with you, David. Thank you. Listen to him in the morning. He's up early, like 2 a.m., having coffee, eating his donuts and whatever at that time. And he at Miller and Moulton, and you can get him online. Just look it up. You'll find it. He's everywhere. I've been watching your show some in the morning a little bit on Facebook.
Wow.
So, yeah. I caught a couple
Hot
of
damn.
Yes,
Hot
sir.
damn.
Thank you,
All right.
David. Always great being with you. See you next
Take
week,
care,
brother.
everybody. All
Thank
right.
you very much. The great David Moulton lightened up things for us tonight. Man, he had everything, every answer. He couldn't ask for better. All right, folks, we'll do this commercial, and then we will call it a night. Thank you for being with us tonight. Good to have Allie on. She always makes things better. And thanks to young Matthew Quartararo. By the way, he's an up-and-comer. He's a guy that you want to be paying attention to. I want to tell you about our friends at Renstar Medical Research who do so much for our community and also for us. We've known them for a long time. They have an office downtown Ocala, and they are always looking in the community. They're stakeholders in our community, and we appreciate all that they do over there. So I want to tell you about Renstar. They have a reputation as a high-quality, justified reputation. Patient-centered clinical research facility in Ocala has cutting-edge technology with the clinical trials they do in areas like Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraine, fibromyalgia, all those things that affect us in our community. And they like having local people come in and be a part of the clinical research because it gives them the data that has some germane to the place that we live some. So if you'd like to be a part of these, I encourage you to go online to renstar.net, find out more about them and how you can be a part of it. You might qualify, in some cases, compensation for time and travel. Just go online, you'll find out. They have had over 700 clinical trials and continue to partner with such prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. So check them out, renstar.net. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks again to Allie Peek Wilbur, to Matt Quartararo, and David Moulton. Good show. Good night. Folks, have a good one. Same time tomorrow night. Don't forget Orange Blue Blood Thursday tomorrow with Ben and Lauren and the Iron Duke. Come back.